In this clip, I'll tell a little bit more about piloting your data. Piloting your data collection means that you test all your instruments, and this can be as extensive as you want. I think you should always pilot your data, and this is true for all types of data. So online questionnaires, pen and paper questionnaires, as well as assignments, interviews, experiments, etc. When piloting your data, keep the following questions in mind. Do questions and instructions make sense to participants of your target sample? Are there no grammatical errors? How long does it take them to finish? Are there any practical limitations or pitfalls that you need to pay attention to? How can you best instruct assistants and students for data collection to run smoothly? These questions and finding the answers all prevent issues from data collection itself, but piloting your data can also be useful to test some issues that might occur after data collection. So this is why you should be critical of the procedure, but also about the resulting data. So pay attention to data cleaning. What would you need to clean later on? And could you prevent it right now by making a small change in the procedure? Take a look at data management. How will you store the resulting data? How much storage space do you need? Do you need extra hard drives, or do you have a server where you can store your data? And lastly, think about your data analysis. Will you be able to use the resulting data for your analyses that you're planning to do? Is there enough variance in your data, etc.? Testing an instrument usually consists of at least two steps. First, you test it in a group of peers, so your fellow PhD students, to get their critical opinion. At this point, it's important to check whether the instructions are clear, there are no spelling errors or formatting errors, and how long it takes an adult to finish the questionnaire or the assignment. This is a rough estimate because younger people tend to take longer on questionnaires because they read slower. Your peers may also think of situations that may occur only in some instances that you still need to account for, like, can we still do this if there is no internet connection? Do these questions apply to one-parent households or same-gender parent couples? Next, you test the instrument in a sample that is very similar to your actual research sample. So sometimes you can draw from the same population. If your target participants are the general population of adolescents between 12 and 18, for example, because these are relatively easy to find. However, if you have a certain inclusion criterion, such as a relatively rare disorder, or certain life experiences or household compositions, you might need every potential participant for your actual sample. So in that case, it's important to make your pilot sample as similar as possible. So test the instrument in the general population of the same age, or test it in a group with major depression instead of bipolar disorder, for example. In this phase, it's again important to check how long it takes them to finish and whether they understand the questions. For a very rigorous approach, you may even do measurement analysis or look at means and standard deviations to check whether the instrument measures the construct appropriately. It can also be useful to set up an interview or meta questionnaire later on to ask participants how they perceived the questions and whether there were things that we should improve for future participants. A third step is not always necessary, but is particularly important when a large group of students will help you collect your data, is to test your training for the instructions. So in transition, we did this for our quasi-experimental observation tasks because we would have 40 students doing our data collection for us, and we wanted to make sure that they understood what they can and cannot say to participants and how to make sure that the data that they collect are usable for us. A question that may arise is, how many pilot tests do I need to run? And the answer is, unfortunately, it depends. A general rule of thumb is the more novel your assessments, the more extensive you need to pilot it. So think of it not as an extra task that you need to add to your plan or to your weekly to-do list, but as a simple tool that will prevent you from making many mistakes later on. So you don't want to spend all your time on collecting data that turn out to be useless for your project.